إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. Continue reading in the final chapter of the issue. The author, she mentioned حفظها الله تعالى من آفات اللسان, من آفات اللسان, from the diseases and the ills of the tongue. And this is the 16th chapter under this title, and it is titled Al-Lisanu qad yazni, that the tongue possibly it could fall into fornication, yani it could speak in a manner that would lead to this affair. So we have seen in the previous class that what is intended here is that the tongue may fall into this issue, and likewise the eyes, and what is intended is that these great blessings, and that these body parts here, they could be used in a manner that will lead to falling into fornication, yani the actuality of that. So therefore, by speaking about that, or to speak in the manner that would lead to that, all of this is considered a type of fornication, and likewise looking in the same manner that would lead a person to eventually falling into that also is considered a type of fornication, although the rulings, they are different. But the point is to clarify the dangers of the tongue and the ills of the tongue, and that if a person was not cautious with regards to his or her tongue, it could lead them to fall into this major sin, وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, into this major sin specifically of zina, but likewise into other major sins as well, by way of the tongue. So we had began reading from this portion, and we stopped at the statement of the author, وَكَثِيرٌ مِّن نِّسَاءِ الْيَوْمِ تُطْلِقُ لِسَانَهَا فِي الْكَلَامِ وكثير من نساء اليوم تطلق لسانها في الكلام وكأنها لا تدري أنها ستجازى على أمرها وكلامها إن خيرا فخير وإن شرا فشر. And she mentions حفظها الله تعالى that many of the women today, they use their tongue relentlessly without any care or concern. They just let their tongue loose and to speak loosely without having any concern or care or observation for that which they are saying. And she mentions as if this woman here thinks that she will not be recompensed, as if the likes of this woman here thinks that she will not be recompensed for her actions and her statements. If they are good, then she will have good, and if they are evil, then she will have evil. Meaning, this is what is seen and understood from her behavior. And maybe a person will believe and have no doubt in the hereafter and the meaning of Allah, and they know that they will be held accountable for their actions and their deeds. But whenever this belief is not deeply rooted and not cultivated properly, and not cared for and concerned for, then it will become weak. And at that time, a person may, although he has that faith and belief, no doubt in his heart, the fruits and the benefits of that will be few, and will be little. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, and they will act in a manner contrary to their belief. And instead of acting according to what that belief requires and necessitates, you will find them acting contrary to that. And from that is that a person will use their tongue loosely without having concern or care for what they are saying, falling into lying or carrying tales or backbiting or belittling others and mocking them and the likes like this, or falling into statements of shirk and innovation and disbelief, waliyadu billah, by way of the tongue. and falling into other major sins, from belittling the believers and mocking them and putting them down and spreading their faults and spreading tales, like the issues that have preceded before, or even using the tongue to talk lowly with the opposite sex in order to bring about that desire and to actualize that affair. All of this can occur for those people who do not have concern or care, or they do not remember this affair, that they're going to die and that they're going to be buried and they're going to be resurrected and held accountable for their statements and for their actions. So this is something to take heed with regards to. So now she says, وَرَوَى الْحَاكِمُ فِي مُسْتَدْرَكِهِ عن عبادة ابن الصامت رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أشار إلى فيه وقال الصمت إلا من خير. And she mentions that it has been narrated by Al-Hakim in his book called Al-Mustadrak. Al-Hakim, his name is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Naysaburi. He died in the year 405, from the great scholars of Hadith and from the students of Ibn Hibban al-Busti. Ibn Hibban al-Busti, a great scholar of Hadith, and he has a Sahih Ibn Hibban. Abu Hatim ibn Hibban al-Busti, rahimahullah ta'ala, he died in the year 354, and he is the great student of Abu Bakr ibn Khuzaymah. Ibn Khuzaymah, rahimahullah, who died in the year 311, and these are from the most famous works of Hadith after the Kutub al-Sittah. After the Kutub al-Sittah, the work of Ibn Khuzaymah, Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah, he died in 311, and his student, the work of his student Ibn Hibban, who died in 354. He has Sahih Ibn Hibban, and then the work of his student, who is Al-Hakim, who was mentioned here in his Mustadrak, and he died in the year 405. So these are also examples of the great works of Hadith, collecting the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the people of knowledge, they rely upon for establishing the sunan and the law and legal ways of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here, this issue here, and this narration here is narrated in the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim, from the hadith of Ubadah ibn As-Samit radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he pointed to his mouth. He pointed to his mouth and he said, As-samtu illa min khayr. As-samt yani as-sukut, to be silent. He pointed to his mouth, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said to be silent, or else to be silent, except in that which is good. To be silent, except in that which is good. And we have seen the likes of this narration has preceded the famous narration of Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, which is muttafaqun alayhi. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, falyakul khayran aw liyasmut." Aw liyasmut, that whoever truly believes in Allah and the last day, then let him say that which is good or be silent. And we have seen a number of benefits with regards to this narration. So this is similar here. As-samtu illa min khayr, that you should be silent, to be quiet, and do not speak except if it's about something that is good. فقال له معاذ ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu, he said now to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, وَهَلْ نُؤَخَذُ بِمَا تَكَلَّمَتْ بِهِ أَلْسِنَتُنَا. And Mu'adh, he said at this time, radiyallahu anhu, are we going to be held accountable for that which our tongues speak? Are we going to be held accountable? And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take into account for that which our tongues say. فَضَرَبَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ فَخِذَ مُعَاذ. And so the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he strike the thigh of Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu, ثُمَّ قَالَ, and then he said, يَا مُعَاذ ثَكِلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ أو ما شاء الله أن يقول له من ذلك وهل يكب الناس على مناخرهم في جهنم إلا ما نطقت به ألسنتهم فمن كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليسكت عن شر قولوا خيرا تغنموا واسكتوا عن شر تسلموا. And this time the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he struck Mu'adh on his thigh radiyallahu anhu, and he said, ثَكِلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ, may your mother be bereaved of you, O Mu'adh. Or a statement from that which Allah willed for him to say at that time, from that which Allah willed for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say at that time. And this is from those words that is famous in the Arabic language, that they will say it, but the meaning is not intended. They will say the words like this, to indicate that this person had made a mistake or fallen into error, and to remind them or to reprimand them, but the literal meaning is not intended. ثَكِلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ, may your mother be bereaved of you. It will be said like this in this manner. It will be said like this in this manner. Or for example, تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ, may his hands be disheveled in the dust, and the likes like this. And what is not intended is that the person's hands will actually be dirty, that he will be fallen into poverty, and his hands will be dusty from poverty, and the likes like this. When one says the likes of this word, but this is from those words that are said that the literal meaning is not intended. The literal meaning is not intended. Like that also, ragima anfuka. Ragima anfuka, meaning may your nose be in the dirt. May your nose be in the dirt. But these words here again are words that the Arab they would say, but they do not intend the literal meaning. But what is intended here is a reprimand, or to clarify that there is a mistake, or that you should do this or should not do that in this manner like this. So this is what is intended here, and Allah knows best. ثَكِلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ يَا مُعَاذ. He said after that, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is there anything more that will cause the people to fall in the hellfire, in the Jahannam, on their faces? On their faces, on their noses, manakhirihim, on their noses, meaning on their faces. On their faces, except that which their tongues have pronounced, meaning that the thing that will cause the people to fall on their faces the most in the hellfire, to be punished and disgraced, is that which their tongues have pronounced. And this narration likewise has been narrated by a Tirmidhi. The portion of this narration here has been narrated by a Tirmidhi with a similar wording also from Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, and it's from the 29th hadith of the 40 hadith of An-Nawawi, with a similar wording here. But in that wording it says, وَهَلْ يَكُبُّ النَّاسَ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ أَوْ قَالَ عَلَى مَنَاخِرِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَاتِهِمْ, except for the harvest of their tongue. The harvest of their tongue. Here it says, إِلَّا مَا نَطَقَتْ بِهِ أَلْسِنَاتُهُمْ, except for that which their tongues have pronounced. Meaning that nothing will cause them to fall on their face more in the hellfire. Nothing will cause the people to fall on their face more in the hellfire and to be punished and disgraced, except for that which their tongues have pronounced, or except for the words that they have spoken, except for that which they harvest from their own tongues. And then that wording that's in Tirmidhi is a great benefit, and he mentioning or resembling that which the tongues say to a harvest. And this is because the person, whenever he's harvesting and he has grown the crops and he takes the sickle and to harvest the crops and the likes like this, then the sickle, he slices the good and the bad of that, and all of that is taken without any concern. And many times a person, his tongue will harvest in the same manner. Meaning who will use it loosely, and he will say good and he will say bad and say evil without any clarification or recollection or any care and concern. So therefore he will reap that harvest. All that which he planted from his tongue, and from those seeds of good and from evil, he will reap that. This is the same way the harvest and the crops, they are reaped. And whenever they gather those crops, they gather the good and the bad all at the same time. So this is an example of this affair. So an indication that a person should be careful, and they should not say anything except that they would hope to find the fruit and the benefit of that. And this is what comes next, in the direction of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this narration. فَمَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَسْكُتْ عَنْ شَرٍ. So therefore, whoever believes in Allah in the last day, then he should say that which is good, or be silent from the evil. And he should be silent from saying that which is evil, or speaking about that which is evil, or speaking about that which is not beneficial or proper, or that which will bring about harm, and the likes like this. And even sometimes a statement, it could be truthful, and it could be true and correct, but to say it at a particular time or in a particular event or situation could bring about much evil. So a person has to recollect and think about what they're saying, if it's going to be good or not. So not everything that is truthful, not everything that is correct is considered good to say in every circumstance and every situation. So therefore, in order to apply this narration, one has to think about what they're saying first. They have to think about what they're saying before they speak, and they have to be able to determine if it's good and beneficial or not, or if it's going to be harmful or not. And he first to identify that it's truth and it's not a lie, and that it's correct and it's not a misunderstanding, and then likewise to identify if that will be beneficial to be mentioned at that time or not, because even if it was identified and clarified that it is truthful and correct, maybe it's not proper or beneficial to mention it. Rather, it could be harmful and could be a means to bring about fitna and so discord in the hearts of the believers. So therefore, to be able to be diligent and to have concern for this, and to be truthful with Allah in one's statements and one's deeds and one's deen, and to strive to say that which is good and beneficial and fear Allah with regards to that, and avoid saying that which would be a means in bringing about evil or trials or fitna or tribulation. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he closes this narration with another advice: "Qulu khayran taghnamu, waskutu an sharrin taslamu." If you say that which is good, and if you follow this direction that is mentioned previously, and you say that which is good, taghnamu, you will gain a ghanima, meaning you will obtain a great reward, and you will have great benefit with that in this life and in the hereafter. And if you are silent from the evil, and you do not transmit that or speak about that or fall into that or delve into speaking about that, then you will be safe, and you will be safe from the repercussions of that. You'll be safe from the repercussions of that. The people of knowledge, they say, al-kalima إذا أمسكت عنها ولم تطلقها أو لم تخرجها فإنك تملكها وإذا أخرجتها فإنها تملكك. That the statement is, so long as you do not say it, then you have authority and command over it. You have charge over that statement. But once you mention it and you say it and you have pronounced that word, now it has charge and authority over you. Now it owns you. So before you say it, you own that statement. You have authority and command over that. But once it's mentioned, now that statement owns you. And you are going to be held accountable for that. And you're going to be taken to account for that statement. So she says here, وَالْحَدِيثُ صَحِيحٌ كَمَا فِي الصَّحِيحِ الْمُسْنَدِ. And this narration here, this wording here in Al-Mustadrak by Hakim is authentic. And it has been collected in the work of her father, rahimahullah ta'ala, As-Sahih Al-Musnad. Now she says, وَاللَّهُ يَقُولُ فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And Allah, He says, the meaning of which is, and whoever works the ant's weight of goodness, then he will see that. And whoever works the smallest ant's weight of evil, then he will see that. And what is intended here, the dharra, the ant, and the smallest ant, meaning whoever works the smallest amount of goodness, and he sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, he will see that, and he will have the reward of that and the benefit of that. And whoever works the smallest and the lightest amount of evil, then likewise he will see that, and he will meet that in his record, and he will be held accountable for that, and he will be asked about that and taken into account for this affair. So she says now, وَالْعَمَلُ يَدْخُلُ فِيهِ الْقَوْلُ. And the actions here, and because Allah, He says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ خَيْرًا فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ شَرًّا. So whoever works good, whoever works evil, whoever works the smallest amount of good or the smallest amount of evil. The word works here is being used in these noble verses. So she's clarifying now that what is included in the action likewise are the statements. وَالْعَمَلُ يَدْخُلُ فِيهِ الْقَوْلُ. And the actions, the amal, also included in that is the qawl, is the statement. So therefore, after understanding this, we return to the verse. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى. So whoever works the ant's weight or the smallest amount of goodness, he will see that. Whether he's working that with his tongue or with his hands or with his heart, with his body parts and the likes like this, all of this is included. The point now is to clarify, included in these actions are the statements of a person. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. And whoever works the smallest amount of evil, likewise he will see that. And the point now, again, is what is included as well in the action here. Whoever works, by way of their tongue as well. All of this is included. So she says, وَنَذِيرُهُ قَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. And what is similar to this is what Allah the Most High, He says, وَقُلْ اعْمَالُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَسُتُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, which means, and say to them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Allah knows best what is intended here, وَقُلْ أي لِلْمُنَافِقِينَ. Say to those hypocrites, O Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Do your deeds, work and do your deeds. And indeed, Allah, He will see your actions, and likewise His messenger and the believers. And Allah will see your actions, and likewise his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the believers. So what is included here, that they should work, meaning work, and the actions likewise with statements, the action and the statements, all of that will be seen by Allah. And likewise here, and his messenger and the believers, meaning that they cannot hide, and they can only deceive the people for some time, but in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will make it apparent, and the people, they will see their evil and their foul intentions and their foul way and their foul statements will become apparent and known, meaning they will become exposed, exposed. So no doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sees and hears all that which the people do. But the fact that likewise the messenger will see that here, and the believers sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the believers, this is what is intended by this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will expose these people, and this is something that is a must, a final outcome of them, that those who have those foul intentions in a bad way and the likes like this, then their foul way will become clarified, and their evils will be known, and they will be exposed, whether it's in this life or in the hereafter, or in this life and the hereafter. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. And like this, the verse is closed. وَسَتُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ. And you will be returned back to the one who has all knowledge of the unseen and the seen. فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And He would inform you of that which you used to do, meaning from good and from evil. And He will take you to account, and you will be held accountable for that. So this is a great threat, and a severe threat with regards to that. And that the people who continue upon their falsehood, and they continue upon misguidance and transgression, and they continue upon the actions of disobedience. Here we're talking specifically about the tongue, but the actions in general, and that this is a threat for them, that their actions are going to be displayed, and they're going to be held accountable, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees them. And if they are not cautious and careful and do not repent, then they may be exposed in this life, and likewise in the hereafter. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. So now she says, وَقَالَ عُمَرْ ibn عبد العزيز كما في جامع العلوم لابن رجب رحمه الله. So she says, now Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he mentioned, rahimahullah, he is one of those noble khulafa. He's a khalifa from the khulafa of Bani Umayyah. He died in the year 101, and he was from those upright scholars likewise, and people of knowledge. He was known for his justice and piety and his care and concern for the sunnah. And the sunnah was gathered at his hand and by his command, and he was from the first to order the likes of Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, rahimahullah, who died in the year 124, to collect the sunnah and to gather the sunnah from the different lands, and to write the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam down in written form, and to send the books of the sunnah to the different lands. So that he was the one who made the first effort from the first efforts in collecting the sunnah, rahimahullah ta'ala, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. As has been mentioned, this narration is found, or a portion of this narration is found in the 40 hadith of An-Nawawi. So she's referring to one of the explanations of that work by Ibn Rajab. It's called Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam. And this particular narration and beneficial statement of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, is found there. And she mentions that statement, من عد كلامه من عمله قل كلامه إلا فيما يعنيه. There's a misprint here with the noon. It says نقل, or the noon and the qaf and the lam. The noon should be deleted. It's not supposed to be here. This is a misprint. So it should say من عد كلامه من عمله قل كلامه إلا فيما يعنيه. Here it says من عد كلامه من عمله. Then after that, the next word, there's a noon and a qaf and a lam. This noon should not be there. It's an addition word and a mistake in the print. It should say قل كلامه إلا فيما يعنيه. So to correct that, the meaning of this statement is that whoever considers their speech to be from their actions, then his statements or his speech would be few, except in that which concerns him. And what is intended here is the one who considers their statements from their actions, meaning from their actions that they're going to be recompensed for. Then the one who has this understanding and realizes this affair, قَلَّ كَلَامُهُ يعني كَانَ كَلَامُهُ قَلِيلًا يعني إِلَّا فِيمَا يَعْنِيهِ, meaning that his speech will be few, and he would not speak all the time. He would not be one of those people running his mouth freely and the likes like this, or she in the same manner, except in that which concerns them, except in that which concerns them. And after this statement here that is transmitted by Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah, he commented himself, Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah, he says, وَهُوَ كَمَا قَالَ فإن كثيرا من الناس لا يعد كلامه من عمله فيجازف فيه ولا يتحرى. And he said, and this is just as he has mentioned, because many of the people, they do not consider their speech from their actions. They do not consider their speech from their actions, meaning from the actions that they're going to be held accountable with and that are going to be weighed in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of resurrection. And therefore they just use their tongue freely and they say whatever without taking any concern or looking or recollecting to what they are saying, So now she mentions حفظها الله تعالى فهنيئا لمن سودت كتابها بالخير والعمل الصالح. So glad tidings and such goodness for the woman who has filled her book with goodness and righteous actions. For the one who has filled her book with goodness and righteous actions, meaning that these statements and these actions they are recorded. They are recorded for each individual, each one of us. So, sister, your actions are recorded. So she's giving you glad tidings if you fill your book and your record with goodness and the righteous deeds. وَبُؤْسًا لِمَنْ مَلَأَتْ كِتَابَهَا بِالْكَلَامِ الْفَارِغِ وَالْعَمَلِ السَّيِّئِ. And how evil and foul is the one who has filled her record with the statements that are vain and empty and have no benefit, and the foul and bad actions. قال تعالى, Allah the Most High, He says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَيَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ راضية في جنة عالية قطوفها دانية كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية. So she says that, and indeed Allah, He says, the Most High, the meaning of which is, and whoever is given his record in his right hand, then he will say, come, read my record. Oh, come and read my record. Indeed, I had certainty that I was going to meet my account. And meaning I was certain that I was going to be taken into account. And this certainty of accountability in the hereafter will cause a person to be cautious whenever they speak and whenever they move. And this was the case for this person. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. So therefore he will be in a pleasant life. Where? في جنة عالية, and lofty gardens in paradise. قطوفها دانية, and the fruits and the clusters of fruit are near to them, meaning they're easy to access and is facilitated to partake in them and to enjoy. And it will be said to them, كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا هَنِيئًا بِمَا أَسْلَفْتُمْ فِي الْأَيَّامِ الْخَالِيَةِ. Eat and drink in goodness and ease. Because of that which you had sent forth in the past days. Meaning from the righteous deeds, from the righteous actions and the beautiful and noble statements. وَقَالَ تَعَالَى, and Allah the Most High, He says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِشِمَالِهِ فَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُوتَ كِتَابِيَهْ وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَهْ يَا لَيْتَهَا كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةَ مَا أَغْنَى عَنِّي مَالِيَهْ هَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِيَهْ خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ضرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فليس له اليوم هاهنا حميم ولا طعام إلا من غسلين لا يأكله إلا الخاطئون. نسأل الله العافية والسلامة. So she mentions the statements of Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah, He says, and as for the one who's given his book in his left hand, then he will say, oh, woe to me, had I not been given my book. Oh, woe to me that I had not received my record. And he will wish that he did not receive his record. He does not want to see his actions or his deeds. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِهَا. I wish I did not even know what my record was or my accountability. يَا لَيْتَهَا كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةَ. I wish that I would have died and my death would have been the end of me, meaning that would have been the end and I would not be held account. مَا أَغْنَى عَنِّي مَالِيَ. My wealth and my property has not benefited me whatsoever, has not sufficed me and saved me from what I'm facing. هَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِهَا, all my power and authority, to argue on my behalf and to dispute and to speak on my behalf is all gone. And he meaning that this time none of this will benefit. None of this will benefit. What will be said to him? خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ, take him and fetter him, shackle him in chains. ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوهُ, and then cast him in the hellfire so he can burn. ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ ذَرْعُهَا سَبْعُونَ ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ, and then in chains of 70 cubits long, then shackle him and tie him. إِنَّهُ كَانَ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ, because indeed he did not used to believe in Allah the Most Great. وَلَا يُحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, and he did not used to encourage the people to feed the poor. فَلَيْسَ لَهُ الْيَوْمَ هَاهُنَا حَمِيمٌ, so today he will not have any friend to help him whatsoever. وَلَا طَعَامٌ إِلَّا مِنْ غِسْلِينَ, and he will not have any food or nourishment except ghisleen. And ghisleen is the pus and the fluid from the wounds of the people being punished in the hellfire. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ لَا يَأْكُلُهُ إِلَّا الْخَاطِئُونَ, nobody will eat the likes of this except for those people who are sinners and transgressors and rebellious and disobedient. So now she says in a great admonition, and it's sufficient just to read these words here of Allah Azza wa Jal and to reflect on the meanings of them directly without any commentary. فَمِنْ أَيِّ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ تُرِيدِينَ أَن تَكُونِي, so from which of the two groups, sister, do you like to be? From which of those two groups, sister, will you like to be? لا شك أنك ستقولون أريد أن أكون من أهل الجنة. So no doubt you're going to say, sister, of course I want to be from the people of Al-Jannah. I want to be from the people of paradise. So now she advises and she says, حفظها الله تعالى فلا يريدنك لسانك في المهالك. So if that's the case, you want to be from the people of the paradise, then do not let your tongue lead you into destruction. Do not let your tongue lead you into destruction. وكون الأعمال تكتب لا يعني من ذلك أنها لو لم تكتب لا يعلمها الله. Now she's mentioning another great point, closing this portion here. حفظها الله تعالى, that she says the fact that the actions they are recorded. This does not mean that if they were not recorded, Allah, He does not know them. This does not mean that if the actions were not recorded, then Allah, He does not know them. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا تَخْفَى عَلَيْهِ خَافِيَةً, because nothing is hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because nothing is hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She mentions the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِيحُ الْغَيْبِ وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِيحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُ, and with Him are the keys to the unseen, and no one knows them except for Him. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, and He knows that which is in the land and in the sea. وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا, and no leaf falls except He has knowledge of that, yani encompassing knowledge of that. وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطَبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ, and there is no grain in the darkness of the earth, nor anything that is moist, or anything that is withered and dry, except it is written with Allah in a clear book. Except for it is written with Allah in a clear book. So the fact that the deeds are recorded, the statements and the actions are recorded, does not mean that if they were not recorded, Allah, He's not aware of them or He does not know them. Rather, she says, وَإِنَّمَا كِتَابَةُ الْأَعْمَالِ أَبْلَغُ فِي إِقَامَةِ الْحُجَّةِ عَلَى بَنِي آدَمَ. But rather what is intended is the fact that the actions, they are recorded. This is even greater in establishing the proof against the son of Adam. And this is the clarification of the justice of Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا, and your Lord, He does not oppress anybody. وَلَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, and Allah, He does not oppress anybody مِثْقَلَ ذَرَّةٍ. He doesn't oppress anybody the smallest amount whatsoever, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as a clarification of His justice, He has created angels, and He has entrusted some of them to ascribing the deeds and the statements that the people do. The deeds, the statements, and the actions that the people do. And all of that is recorded. And a person, he will have nothing to do except for read his own record, and he will not be able to deny it. He will not be able to deny it. He will not be able to say, oh, I didn't say that, or I didn't do that, because it will be recorded, and he will be reminded. It will be recorded, and he will be reminded. أَحْصَاهُ اللَّهُ وَنَسُوهُ, that Allah has encompassed that, and has recorded all of that, and has complete knowledge of that, and they have forgotten. And they have forgotten. How many times have we wronged someone? and oppress them with our tongue, and other than that, and we have even forgotten about that. How many times have we disobeyed Allah with His blessings that He provides for us, and we don't even remember that? So therefore, to recollect upon these affairs and to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah, He mentions it will be said on the day of resurrection, اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. Read your own book. It's sufficient for you as a reckoner against your own soul. Against your own soul. So the fact that the deeds they are recorded and they are written, this is even greater in the clarification of the justice of Allah. And He does not oppress anyone. And whatever we do, we will see that. So the one who knows this, then he should work for good. And so should she. Then he or she, they should work for good and strive against their soul to be obedient to Allah Azza wa Jal. And this begins by learning, by showing great care and concern for learning the proper creed and the proper belief, and learning the proper methodology, learning the obligations upon a person in one day, learning what is allowed for him, learning what is impermissible for him, learning the prohibitions in order to avoid them, learning the major sins, learning that which invalidates Islam entirely, learning that which brings deficiency to the faith and brings weakness to the tawheed, and that will make the shahada light in the scale of a person, and the likes like this, in order to worship Allah upon clarity and insight, and to partake in that which is good from this life upon knowledge, and to avoid the evil, likewise upon light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now in the closing of this chapter, she says, Sababu afat al-lisan, the reasons for the diseases of the tongue. And there are reasons that these diseases come about, and that they will be on a person's tongue. And we discuss these issues inshallah in the class to come. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.